those Russian nesting dolls on the vanity. What were they called? She shook her head at the mess and pursed her lips, then went to her room, the sewing room, to prepare for the day ahead. First, Dorothy put on a dove-gray conservative skirt suit and white silk blouse, a strand of imitation pearls, beige nylons, and black Mary Janes. In front of a mirror, she twisted her long jet hair up into a tidy knot with an ivory clip and strung the chain of a pair of her mother's half-spectacles around her neck. Their lenses were nothing more than clear glass. Using a bristle brush, Dorothy carefully streaked her hair, starting at the temples, with white shoe polish. Next, she accentuated the faint wrinkles at the corners of her eyes and mouth with an eyebrow pencil. Finished, she examined herself critically in the mirror and allowed herself a rare, close-lipped smile. Dorothy was now 26, going on 65, give or take a decade. Standing up, she allowed her shoulders to slouch, then straightened again. For a moment or two she debated adding a cane to the ensemble, but decided against it. Too much. Just a little too much, she said aloud to the empty house. Dorothy now had everything she needed. She picked up a black plastic purse and left the house, carefully securing the door behind her and tripping down the stairs almost gaily. The heat of the day already burned fiercely. A sickly pink rose trailed onto the concrete of the patio, and an untented clematis wound around a trellis. The house was on an odd bluff, shielded from the street by thick cedar hedges. Dorothy descended another set of switchback stairs to the sidewalk. The next block over, a small Portuguese grocery did an excellent trade in buns and coffee, and Jimmy's, an Italian mom-and-pop 2 blocks west, was great for cheese and sliced meat. Dorothy went north instead, humming Heart of Glass. Most of Dorothy's life had been spent here in Strathcona, an old neighborhood just east of Vancouver's Chinatown, first settled by a mix of Chinese and Italian immigrants from the early railroad days of the city. She walked past elders practicing Tai Chi on the field at McLean Park. 2 small Italian boys, enjoying their last day of freedom before starting grade 1, ran by screaming, "Acqua fresca! Vino puro! Fica stretta! Cazzo duro!" At the corner of Hastings and Hawks, in front of the Astoria, Dorothy caught the trolley bus downtown. She gave way for 2 tiny ladies carrying baskets. They could have been sisters, both draped in shapeless black widow's weeds, though one was a swamp haka from Way, while the other hailed from the hills near Monte Cimone in Emilia-Romagna. Dorothy paid her fare with dimes and found a seat on the shady side with a window that opened fully, allowing in fresh air. The bus was nearly empty on this holiday morning, and for that small mercy, Dorothy was grateful. East Hastings was a jungle of low-rent hotels, beer parlors, greasy spoons, pawn shops, and newsstands all the way to Victory Square. There were loggers in mac jackets, railroad tramps, knots of old drunks loitering on the corners without a single permanent mailing address between them, panhandling Indians, and even a hooker or 2 this early in the morning. The electric bus carried her through the mire and eventually turned south on Granville and went up a pedestrian mall. As Dorothy passed the James Inglis Reed butcher shop, she whispered aloud its slogan, her private ritual, "We hae meat that ye can eat." At Georgia Street, Dorothy got off after the 2 tiny ladies, her own shoulders now stooped again, her steps hesitant and shuffling. The block between Georgia and Robson was almost entirely taken up by the Eaton's department store, a huge 6-story blank behemoth, its exterior completely clad in some kind of blank white stone. From her purse, Dorothy unfolded a strong paper bag with rope handles from Eaton's eternal competitor, kitty corner across Georgia, the Hudson's Bay Company. It was now slightly after 11 o'clock. Dorothy entered the air-conditioned, Muzak-filled